Am I? Who am I? I'm going to ask you those questions. I'm a writer. I'm an author. I've written a couple books. My second one has just come out. It's called The Choice. It's that blue cover right there. And I started out actually a couple years ago with a guy named Richard C. Hoagland. We wrote that first book, the one, Dark Mission, The Secret History of NASA. And that was a conspiracy theory. It was a cool book, but it was dark. Even said dark mission. And what happened to me over the years is that I started to lighten up a little bit, and I started getting really interested in lots of other stuff that was peripherally related to NASA and what's on the moon and what's on Mars. And I'll just tell you flat out that what's on Mars and what's on the moon is ruins of at least one ancient civilization that is no longer with us. And I actually think those civilizations are not extraterrestrial, but they're human. I think they're previous versions of us that were even more advanced than we are now, and somehow they fell. So what began to concern me was I started to look at 2012 and I started to say, wow, there's some stuff here that's pretty interesting. There's some, scary scenarios. There's these big solar flares people talk about. There's magnetic pole shifts. There's the Earth toppling over on its axis. And I kind of looked at all of it, and it's all possible. It's all possible. I think all these things have happened before. But what I know is that they don't have to happen again. And the way that I came to that knowledge was through that lady there, Susan Shumsky, who's leaving right now. I had about a year ago, November 9th, I had a really profound, very powerful spiritual experience. And it really changed the way I looked at everything. I mean, I was heading in that direction anyway. And then this really opened me up. It really opened my heart up. And I found out a week or two later that that moment that had happened right around midnight on the 9th was the exact moment that, according to a guy named Dr. Carl Johann Kalaman, we moved from the 6th day to the 6th night of the galactic underworld of the Mayan calendar. And what was supposed to happen then is that people were supposed to start waking up. So exactly what happened to me is what Kalaman had said was going to happen. And then I did a little bit more work on Dr. Kalaman, and I saw that he had made some other predictions about the economy and things like that, and those had come true. So at that moment, I kind of said to myself, holy crap, this is actually real. And something really is going to happen. It's not going to be Y2K. Something's really going to happen, and our consciousness is going to be affected because mine was affected. And then, after I woke up, it was like this is LA. I live here, and this is the home of some of the most superficial, materialistic people on the face of the earth. And they started saying to me, what do you think about this whole 2012 thing? And do you feel like you should start, going to church or something? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I kind of do feel that way. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. The light and hope part is coming, I promise. I promise. Kittens, there's going to be kittens later. I did start going to some churches, and a lot of different ones, trying different things. I really enjoyed them. I went to the Atheist Society, who are a bunch of weird people, but boy, are their hearts beautiful. They believe in the teachings of this guy named Aetherius, who came through to a man named Dr. George King in the 1950s and told him that he was from Venus, and all these really cool things about how everything really worked and how beautiful the universe really was. And you say to yourself, some people say, well, that's crazy stuff, and the truth is, everybody that I know that goes there or that's from there are truly really beautiful people. So it's like, I thought to myself, whatever you pick, I don't care whether you want to go to, if you're Mormon, Catholic, go to the Aetherius Society, you want to do yoga, pick something, because it's going to be really important. So the pattern I began to see was something that actually came out of Dark Mission. One of the chapters in Dark Mission talks about something called hyperdimensional physics. And that's a theory of my co-author on Dark Mission, Richard Hoagland, and a man named Errol Torren. And it came out of a bunch of mathematics that they decoded from these ruins on Mars. But they found out, after that inspiration, that actually the physicists themselves back in the 1800s had started down this path. And what hyperdimensional physics is it simply says that the universe has more than 3 dimensions. There's a fourth dimension, a fourth physical dimension, and a fifth, and a sixth, and all the way up to a 26th. There's all these levels of higher existence. And we can't touch them, we can't taste them, we can't go there. We can only go there when we pass away from this third dimensional existence. But we can see how they leave imprints on this universe. We can see how things change and how things react to stuff that they shouldn't be able to be reacting to. Pendulums that swing with the rotation of the Earth should not start swinging backwards during an eclipse. Nothing that Newton or Einstein or the quantum physics people or Nassim Haramein or any of those guys tell you can explain that. But hyperdimensional physics can explain it. Because everything in the universe is interacting with everything else. Everything is being touched by everything else through the higher spaces. So, it's not gravity, it's not magnetism, it's nothing we can measure. All we can measure is what it does to us. And as I went and did more research for the book, one of the things I came up on was that there had been a bunch of studies done like in the 1950s on radio signals. And what the RCA had found was that when the planets were in certain positions around the sun, that the signals got better or worse. And these positions actually corresponded with what are called astrological aspects. In other words, there's a thing in astrology called a trine, meaning that, let's say the Earth is in the middle when you've got 3 planets in a triangle 60 degrees apart around you. That's a positive aspect. It's supposed to be good. Everything's supposed to be more harmonious in your life. Guess what? The sun got quiet. The sun calmed down. No more magnetic storms, and the radio signals got really sharp and really vibrant. They were really easy to catch. And then when they were in what are considered disharmonious aspects, squares, where they've got things at 90 degrees, or in opposition, guess what? The sun got excited, got all worked up, and stuff got spewed out, and the signals went to heck. Well, needless to say, mainstream physicists and scientists in the 50s didn't appreciate that very much. They really didn't want to talk about that. Carl Sagan was not happy, okay? So this stuff has been resolutely ignored by mainstream physics. They don't want to admit that all their stuff is wrong because it doesn't include higher dimensions. But that mindset is going to take you to a place where Stephen Hawking went to, which is that there's no such thing as God. The universe is all just based on the laws of physics. Well, none of the laws of physics, at least the big ones, none of them are actually laws at all. They're all changeable. The speed of light is not the speed limit of everything in this universe. Okay, there's a million of them out there. There's a bunch of them I talk about in the book. And they're all changeable because every time the geometry of the planets changes, the physics of this planet changes. And every time the geometry of the planets changes, the consciousness of all of us can change also. So as I begin to look through the guys that were talking about the Mayan calendar, and they were saying, oh, there's going to be this beautiful consciousness raising, we're all going to get better, everything's going to get wonderful, we're all going to ride off in the sunset and sing Kumbaya together. I thought, well, that sounds really great, but I don't believe it. And, okay, I'm getting to it, I promise. We are going to go off into the sunset and sing Kumbaya. We really are. And I started looking at again at these catastrophe scenarios, and I'm like, those could happen too, because my co-author Richard Hoagland did a bunch of studies. There is this pulse of energy. Every time we line up with the center of the galaxy on December 21st or right around there, we get hit with this wave of energy. It's been happening to us since about 1980, and it's going to go on through 2016. And it makes the Earth shudder sometimes. The big, massive Indonesian earthquake. They say, oh, the earthquake was so big, the Earth actually slightly tipped off of its axis. Well, no, what happened was this torsion energy, this torsion wave hit the Earth, and then we shuddered on the axis, and then we had the earthquake. So I'm like, wow, that kind of sucks. And I'm thinking, well, what's driving all this stuff? How can these guys over here, like Carl Kalleman, who are so right about these things that I personally experienced, be so wrong and everything's going to be a disaster and the sun's going to shoot out solar flares. And I realized that the most important thing that all the different religions teach us is that we are unique in the sense that we have free will. We have choice. And I don't know, but I strongly suspect there's about 9 billion different paths to God out there in this universe. And we, I think, are unique in that we get to go with free will. So what I begin to understand is I understood the power of each individual person, the spiritual energy that each of you has. You each are about 100 to 150 watt light bulb at any given moment. And that doesn't seem like a whole lot of power. But if you take all the atoms in a 100 watt light bulb and you split them, you've got more destructive nuclear power than all the nuclear arsenals that this planet has ever seen in its history. So the truth is, there's 7 billion of us on this planet. So we have far more power than all of these other technological weapons we've created. So again, I'm looking at these other civilizations that seem like they've been here before us. They've been to these places that are nearby us before. And something happened to them. And I started to look at the Hopis, a lot of the ancient cultures. And the Hopi said, yeah, we've done this 3 or 4 times. We've gotten this high up, and then we turn away from our spiritual selves. We turn away from our hearts. And then something really bad happens, and the slate gets wiped clean, and we start over again. So this is the 4th time, according to them, that we've reached this height. And actually, they say the previous world, we went beyond the technology we have today. And in fact, if they hadn't hidden this hyperdimensional physics from us for the last at least 50 years, we would be out there. We would be able to build these gigantic structures anywhere. We'd be, in fact, there's some people that believe there's actually a secret private space program that's been going to the moon and Mars since the 50s. Even some of the astronauts believe that. I've got second-person witness from several different people that said that. But I don't care about that anymore. It doesn't matter. Because they're not going to step in and use this to save us. And the reason why is because we are the ones who are going to decide what's going to happen. There is an apocalypse coming, okay? But the important thing to understand is exactly what the word apocalypse means. It means to lift the veil, to reveal that which has been hidden. Okay? Astrologically, we're moving, everybody knows, from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. The age of Pisces says everything is hidden, everything is occulted. In the age of Aquarius, everything is revealed. Everything becomes known. Now, what do you think is going to happen when we all realize that, as a for instance, the whole banking system is corrupt, that nobody ever loaned you money to buy your house, that you owned your house the minute you signed the mortgage? They convinced you, they tricked you, they defrauded you into thinking you had to pay them back money that you created. It's not going to go over really well. Okay? So as we experience these revelations, what the physics says, what the Mayan calendar says, what the Hindus say, what the Vedas say, what the Hopis say, is that all this stuff's going to get exposed, and that's going to create instability. We're being pushed into polarization. I mean, look at us. 2 years ago, we went all the way over here to the left. And we're like, that sucks. We paid for socialism and didn't get it. And now, we're going all the way back over to the right in another week or so. Okay? Maybe we were always more that way anyway, but at least we were willing to try that and kind of went, oh, we don't like that. So we're like on the ship that goes back and forth. This instability has already started. We're already in the midst of the apocalypse. But what we don't appreciate is that the apocalypse is not something that happens to us. It's something that we actively participate in, and we get to choose the outcome of, collectively. Now, the Mayans say that on December 21st, 2012, and I think it might be that day or it might be within 10 or 12 years, because the Veda Hindu Yuga cycles seem to end in 2023, so we've got this period of time that's all this stuff's going to happen. They say that Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, depending on whether he's Aztec or Mayan, is going to ride a serpent rope from the center of the galaxy. He's going to manifest here in 3D, and he's going to pass judgment on us. Okay? Which again, sounds kind of scary. But when we think of judgment, we think of biblical judgment. You know, you're good, you're bad. You go to heaven, you go to hell. Because you were better than you, so you get to go to heaven, and you go to hell. You suck. You get I'm pointing in that general direction, not at you specifically. But it's not that kind of judgment. What's going to happen when this energy pulse gets here, and it is coming, I mean, I talk about experiments in here where Richard has measured it. It is going to come, and there's probably one planet out there that's been hidden from us that's going to come in alignment, and it's going to amplify the energy. It is going to come. But what judgment is it's not you're good or you're bad. The judgment is, okay, here I am. What would you like me to do with your planet? What do you guys want? What's your intent for this planet that you're living on?